and welcome back to AGT STEM. Today we're going to be watching a video on Rutherfordium. So, without further ado, let's hop to it.
We're here in the basement of the Royal Society in London. The Royal Society is the UK National Academy of Sciences, and we're here because there's an exhibition about Rutherford. We're interested in the element Rutherfordium, which is right here at the bottom of the periodic table, number 104. And with these elements, only tiny amounts, relatively few atoms have been made. So we can't tell you about how it's used in light bulbs or something like that, because it hasn't been used for anything. People are really excited if they make just one or two atoms of it. So instead, we're going to tell you a bit about Rutherford, after whom it's named. And Rutherford is famous because he did a whole series of experiments, or he and his co-workers, that really explained the structure of atoms. And so the periodic table, for the first time, really began to make sense. Over here you can see there's a picture of Rutherford here in his lab with one of his co-workers. And this is a very famous picture. Rutherford, who came from New Zealand, had a very loud voice, and the experiments were rather sensitive. If you talked too loud, the apparatus started shaking and it didn't work properly. So his students put up a big notice in the lab saying, "Talk softly, please." But I'm not sure that it stopped him. And I use this picture when I'm talking to my students about safety. You've always got to be really safe when you're working as a chemist. First of all, you can see that Rutherford is smoking in the lab. And then he's not wearing safety glasses, nor is his colleague. And then they have a whole series of wires and all sorts of things to trip over. So it's really surprising that they managed to get their experiments to work without some sort of serious accident. Perhaps they did break things and never told us about it. Anyway, Rutherford's work was recognized by him winning the Nobel Prize. And here, and that's quite exciting, there is a replica of the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize is a gold medal, but here they've shown it as two half medals. Underneath you, there's nothing to see, so that you can see both of the sides. So on one side, there is the portrait of Alfred Nobel, whose money and foundation still to this day pays for the prize money. When he received this, it would have been presented to him by the Swedish king in a huge ceremony in Stockholm. Now, what I can't remember is whether he got the Nobel Prize for physics or chemistry. I have a feeling...
Chemistry?
Yes. I had a feeling that he got it for chemistry, which was particularly funny because Rutherford didn't like chemistry. He said that there is just physics and stamp collecting, and he did not really respect...
Imagine winning the Nobel Prize for chemistry, and you don't even like it. Like, how would you even do that?
Chemistry, so perhaps the chemists got their revenge by giving him the Nobel Prize for chemistry. Rutherford had very strong views about the hours his students should work, and they were not allowed to work after 6 o'clock at night in the lab. And his chief technician would go round the lab at 6 o'clock and switch off all the apparatus and chase everybody out of the lab. And even though they did this, that 11 of his students won Nobel Prizes. This must be one of the records for any single research group to this day. And of course, when they went home, having had dinner and drunk wine in the college, then they started working, writing papers. But it's very interesting that if you read letters from visiting American scientists, they couldn't understand how Rutherford's lab was so successful, because the people came in at 10 o'clock in the morning, they went home at 6, and didn't seem to do any work at all. But they discovered all these wonderful things.
What's your policy on your students working then?
Well, I always encourage my students to work, but I find that if I encourage them too hard, it has the opposite effect, just like parents telling their children to do their homework. But by and large, when people are enthusiastic about their science, it's difficult to stop them working too much.
Well, that was a nice video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you think this is a nice video too. And we'll see you next time. Stay smart. Bye!